This is Qtv News and I am Jenna Bosonko. Thank you for joining us. First, the main local and international news headlines. The Health Minister, while updating the National Assembly, reveals that the Gambia has registered 2 cases of the UK variant of COVID-19. The renamed Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, in collaboration with UNICEF, has handed over food items to families in the Greater Banjul area as part of its response to COVID-19. We hear testimonies from the 2 former NIA operatives about the torture carried out by the agency, including one who had a 17-year career and another involved in giving what he termed special treatment to victims. Gambia participates in collaboration with the International Budget Partnership on Thursday engaged stakeholders to review the Gambia's current budget process to improve fiscal transparency. In international news, 6 of the 10 most underreported humanitarian crises of 2020 are in Africa. We take a look as to why this is. Those were the main headlines, and now the news in detail. Do stay with us. Thank you for joining us. This is Qtv News. Now, the Gambia has registered 2 UK variant of COVID-19 after sequencing positive results of 2 Gambian nationals from abroad in the last few days. This is according to the Minister of Health as he updated the National Assembly Select Committee on Health. Following a recent spike, health officials have also raised the alarm that the country is beginning to experience the second wave. Momodu Lamin Choi has the rest of that.
Series of COVID-19 variants are circulating around the world and rapidly replacing other versions of the virus in Europe and parts of Africa. It is no longer news that the Gambia has registered a sharp increase in new infections, and surveillance measures such as sequencing some positive samples of the virus have been ongoing at the MRC laboratory for the last 6 months. The Minister of Health furnishes the National Assembly's Select Committee on Health with the situation of the virus in the country and makes a shocking revelation.
And our sequencing has revealed that already we have gotten 2 UK variants in country for the information of the honourable members. As we speak, we have been notified of the presence of 2 UK variants in the country now. However, we are delighted to say they have been picked up early. They were one of those who were tested on arrival, and then one of them was symptomatic, and they realized that but was actually infected by a person who came from the UK. So both the person who came from the UK and the index symptomatic cases are under our people and custody, and they are receiving attention so that we are able to contain them. And we are observing them. They are alive and healthy. That means there is some form of control.
Another person who is a contact of one of the carriers of the UK variant of the virus from Europe is also being tested. According to scientists, the UK variant of the virus may be up to 70% more transmissible than the strain first identified globally. This has led to health experts advising countries to employ a more robust surveillance measures, increase testing, and your capacity to sequence positive samples of the virus for a stronger surveillance system.
So you would have seen probably in the media recently, Gambia has been ranked number 6 in the world for our abilities to sequence. Even big countries have not been doing sequencing, at least of COVID-19, and that is a big plus for a small country like ours. So that means our surveillance strategy will be stronger, because that means we can sequence to know the various variants of COVID-19. There is the UK variant, and there is the South African variant, and possibly there are others that are coming up. But without sequencing, this could be in our country without us knowing.
The rise in our COVID-19 numbers has put our health system on the alert, according to the Minister of Health. This means an increase in testing, contact tracing, isolation, and our treatment capacity. Just in the last 2 weeks, more than 2,000 people have been tested in the country, showing an uptick in the number of recorded COVID-19 infections.
As we speak, we have Basse, that's under the MRC, and Keneba, that's also under the MRC. But we are setting up, with the arrival of our new PCR machines, a testing center in Farafenye and Bansang. So they will also be testing so that we can have government facilities doing this. But at this point, we'll also inform you of the fact that now we are now thinking of getting the rapid test in these facilities, so that even though their sensitivity is a little below the PCR, but we think it will help so that the test can be done by the person who sees the patient, just like an RDT is done for malaria. We think that will help us in that line.
And as the cases continue to rise, we are warned that our country is beginning to see the second wave of the virus and that all of us must act responsibly to flatten the curve. Public health officials, including the Minister of Health, continue to urge the public to wear face masks, a practice that has become lax in the country, even though it is a law for all.
The regulation is still valid. We have had challenge with enforcement because sometimes even the people enforcing, who are supposed to enforce, you pass them at the roadside, they are not even putting it on. So that has made it difficult, but we've engaged them, and hopefully circulars will go out so that we are able to enforce.
The variant of the virus was first detected in the UK last September and is spreading at record levels, and it has dominated positive test results from hospitals across the United Kingdom, marking nearly 2/3 of cases in mid-December. Currently, there is no evidence that it causes more severe illnesses or increased risk of death. It is important for all to know that the emergence of new variants of the virus is normal. As the virus mutates, it produces different variants. In fact, the virus that was first detected in Wuhan, China, is not the same one found in most corners of the world. However, the alarm is that its rate and speed of transmission are enough to cause problems for hospitals. Mahmoud Lamin Choi, Qtv News.
The renamed Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, which has dropped Women's Affairs from its name in collaboration with UNICEF, has handed over food items to families in the Greater Banjul area as part of its COVID-19 response. Here is my report. This is a continuation of the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare's COVID-19 response, supported by UNICEF. The first COVID-19 response targeted NBR, CRR and West Coast regions, and this latest one is aimed at the Greater Banjul area. The response targets families with children who were seriously affected by floods during the recent rainy season, and they are provided with rice, cooking oil and a cash transfer of $3,000.
As part of the government of the Gambia's response to COVID-19, this support will enhance the protection of vulnerable children in the area of food and nutrition. It will also reduce vulnerability to child abuse, child labor and other factors detrimental to the welfare of children.
According to UNICEF, before COVID-19 became a global pandemic threatening the health and well-being of the world, an estimated 47 million children under 5 years of age suffered from wasting, which puts them at higher risk of death. For children who survive wasting adversely affects their body growth, brain development and school performance. Wasted children are at risk during this pandemic.
We have to be on the constant lookout for those who are the most vulnerable. Poverty exists, but acute and extreme poverty also exists. And it is through social protection that we need to ensure that that poverty eradication strategy is accompanied by a proactive and constant strategy to monitor and identify those who are in extreme risk.
Officials of the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare say the process of selecting the beneficiary households for the response was transparent.
For the selection, we work with GBOS on the poverty index, and then we identified some staff at the level of the regions initially for the first intervention, and they went around and worked with the alcalos and the VDCs and the MDFTs to get information about the households with children, because we are specifically dealing with households with children 0 to 5. So we look at the data we have at the level of GBOS, and then with our staff we went around, meet the people, discuss with the alcalos or the heads of the communities, and that is how we come about getting the people that are benefiting today.
Our Baji, a beneficiary, says this response means a lot to her and will go a long way in reducing the financial burden when it comes to feeding her children. As part of the event, The ministry, with support from the UNFPA, presented laptops to the Gambia Police Force to enhance their smooth investigation, management and recording of cases of gender-based violence. Reporting for Qtv News, I am Jennifer Sonko. An operative of the NIA, Sajo Sane, who worked there for 17 years on Wednesday, became the latest operative from the institution to tell the TRRC that the NIA was a torture center for detainees. Omar Pijalo has the rest of that.
Sajo Sane told the Truth Commission that he was appointed as NIA operative and mechanic in November 2004. Sane said the NIA was known for interfering in the work of other institutions. He cited examples where the NIA were involved in debt collections from debtors who were sometimes arrested and tortured. The NIA will also investigate drugs and crime cases instead of the police.
We have also received further evidence to suggest that the NIA was used as a tool to satisfy the personal desires and also the politics of Yahya Jammeh.
Yes.
Sane said he have never participated in any arrests, detention, torture or human rights violations for 17 years of his service with the NIA. However, he reveals that he witnessed torture at the NIA. Sajo Sane also told the commission that he was arrested and detained for 1 month by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, who accused him of selling drugs. On another occasion, he said he was falsely accused of slaughtering a bull belonging to the former President Yahya Jammeh, selling the meat and refusing to pay back the money.
The betrayal was cooked up a long time ago. When I came to this man, I told him I have paid already. I told them to allow me to go and pick up the receipt. I went and brought it back. Behold, there was a particular person there whose interest was to see that I was arrested.
So they did not investigate the matter properly. They did not look at the receipt. They just arrested you and detained you.
Sane also confirmed to the commission that he had witnessed the arrest of UDP supporters by the NIA on April 16, 2016, and their subsequent torture. The witness said one of his relatives, Lamin Sane, was detained at the NIA for 1 month under the directive of the former President Yahya Jammeh before he was moved to the Mile 2 Central Prison, where he was seriously tortured, leading to his death shortly after his release.
I heard screams, 3 types of screams. One was screaming in Mandinka, "You will kill me." I heard another one.
The first scream that you heard, was it from a man or a woman?
Sane also reveals that torture at the NIA was usually done after working hours to conceal the act from the public. Reporting for Qtv News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
Before we take a break, just a public notice that the TRRC is to take a week's break and will resume on the 25th of January. We will take a short break, and still to come, we have local and international news. Do stay tuned. Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is Qtv News. Now, a member of the Special Operations Unit of the NIA, Basiru C, on Thursday, told the Truth Commission that they were the junglers of the NIA who gave the so-called VIP treatments to those arrested. Babakar C has the rest of that.
The witness, Basiru C, was a retired soldier who later joined the NIA in 2004 and tasked to do special operations for the former president. He added that the unit was so secretive that even agents in other departments were scared of them. He also told the commission that detainees were secretly kept in cells for days and were being tortured.
Tell me whether I am wrong. Would you say that the Special Ops Unit was in fact the junglers of the NIA?
mun naa wax ne yéen seen bunta boobu ñoo wax Special Operations Unit nekkul ne mooy fànni jongla yi nekk foofu ca NIA.
You can say something like that. The witness went on to explain how they give the so-called VIP treatment to people they arrested.
If at all they bring there a person, someone that we wanted and have picked him or her up, they will take the person inside, the OC will go with the person and they try to obtain a statement from that person. If the person is not cooperating, he will go out and tell the boys to give the individual a VIP treatment.
Basirusi said he later regretted joining the Special Operations Unit of the NIA because of the dangerous work they did. He confirmed that as a trained commando in the army, most of his classmates were the junglers in the army. He went on to narrate how some of the NIA operatives would use their position to inflict pain on people and take money from them using force and threats. He told the commission that he has regretted all the bad things he was involved in, saying it was the influence of his colleagues at work.
I apologize here wholeheartedly for those people that I have dealt with.
The witness confirmed that most arrests and tortures of top-ranked officials were orders from the State House. Effectively, the orders came from the former president, Yahya Jammeh. Babu Karsi, Qtv News.
The community of Burfoot Sanchaba are rejoicing after their streets were brightened on Wednesday night thanks to new solar streetlights installed for them by their sons and daughters. Babu Karsi witnessed the inauguration and he sends in this report.
Natives of Burfoot Sanchaba in the diaspora have provided solar lights for their streets. The solar lights, for what they say is a pilot project, cost around $188,000 and is set to continue with more support from the citizens of the community living in the diaspora. Lamin Bojang, a native of the community, tells us more about how the initiative came about.
The idea was conceived by one Asan Mane. Asan Mane is a native of Burfoot, and he lived in an area called Burfoot Satebakono. But this is the place where the mother lived. That is in Sanchaba. And that is just a stone throw from my house. We all, grew up. I grew up before them, the mom. But Asan is my nephew. So the father started the project in Satebakono. I guess he has retired from where he used to work. I guess it was the UN. So when he returned home, he found out that where he lived or where he intended to live, there is no street lights there. So he embarked on this project and used ABS to illuminate the area.
What does this move mean to the community of Burfoot who have never had this before? Here is Mr. Bojang again.
We are overjoyed. I don't want to, express my joy because the Brikamankas will think that, we are going to celebrate just because there is a light. This is not just because there is a light. We've been in serious darkness, So for somebody to promise us that there is going to be light in 3 days, that is something that is amazing.
Yamundau Kaur, the mother of Asan Kaur, who came up with the initiative, says her son could not have done it alone without the support of others. They all know what they left behind in their community, and coming up with this great idea to take us out of the dark is more than welcome, Yamundau added. The male and female village elders took turns to praise the people from their community in the diaspora for coming to their aid and lightening up the streets. Other speakers, while thanking their sons and daughters in the diaspora, also used the opportunity to call on them to support with repairing their roads, saying they struggle a lot during the rainy season with stagnant water on the roads and flooding. 45 poles have been installed within the community, and the contractors have offered a 1-year warranty to take care of the solar lights for the next 12 months. The residents said out of joy at the transformation brought about by the street lights, their community is now called Burfoot Dubai. Babu Karsi, Qtv News.
Well, thumbs up to the sons and daughters then. Now, Gambia participates in collaboration with the International Budget Partnership on Thursday engaged stakeholders to review the Gambia's current budget process to improve fiscal transparency. Ajibuntu Drame has the rest of that.
In terms of Gambia's budget transparency, public participation or engagement are low. giving scores of 4 out of 100 and 9 out of 100 respectively, according to the 2019 Open Budget Survey by the International Budget Partnership. The public's engagement is significant to improve and seek for a way forward to identify gaps in budget process, lay out strategies to improve key budget documents, foster active participation of citizens in budget participation, as well as strengthen budget oversight institutions. Julde Cisse, representing the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, urges citizens to actively participate in budget reviews, adding that publication of documents are available online for easy access.
Meeting international standards in this area will be both a medium and long-term goal. The commitment is certainly there, and the short-term target is to maintain our current activities and momentum, whilst in the medium term we intend to exploit the possibility of expanding on recent initiatives in a gradual and phased manner based on what is realistically feasible.
Mar Nyang, the executive director of Gambia Participate, says there is a high possibility for good budget transparency, emphasizing that an access to information bill which is due to be enacted will provide more insight and accountable budget governance.
As per the reports that are being audited or published by the National Audit Office, we've seen massive maladministration of public wealth. It's public knowledge. But no action is yet to be taken. That in itself, if there's inaction, it encourages continuity of maladministration. So which we need to look at.
Questions were taken from the floor and the challenges faced by some attendees in getting information and access to fiscal data at departmental levels were raised, and recommendations given to improve fiscal transparency.
In terms of the public participating in the budget process, that is still a challenge, even for parliamentarians. Like you said, the period for Parliament to scrutinize the budget, 2 weeks, is very, very small, if you know what is embedded in that budget. So it will require parliamentarians to even go back to their constituents to be able to find out certain details and what their request would be.
As transparency is key to the process of inclusive and active public participation, the media, stakeholders and citizens' efforts need to become fully engaged to realize the positive outcome of greater budget transparency. Ajibintu Dwame, QTV News.
Now on to some international news. 6 of the 10 most underreported humanitarian crises of 2020 are in Africa, according to the relief agency Care International, and some of these crises have appeared in these annual surveys multiple times. Here's Mahmoud Mboch's investigation.
The COVID-19 pandemic has not only diverted media attention from humanitarian crises around the world, but has also starved them of donor resources, says the relief agency in its annual report titled Suffering in Silence. The report found that humanitarian reporting has substantially reduced as countries imposed lockdowns and restrictions preventing access. International media has also focused its attention on the health, social and economic crises caused by the global pandemic in its own backyard. Donor funding is drying up as resources are diverted to fighting the pandemic. Starved of both media attention and donor funding, the world's humanitarian disaster hotspots have not only turned into blind spots, but have also grown globally under the pandemic. In 2019, African countries represented the vast majority of the underreported list. But with the pandemic, the 2020 list includes a larger number of regions, spanning across Central America, Eastern Europe, and the Pacific. The report concluded that the number of people in need has increased by 40%, the single largest increase ever recorded in 1 year. Over the years, the Gambia itself has had its share of floods and other disasters requiring humanitarian response. To produce the report, CARE analyzed 45 humanitarian crises in 2020, where at least 1 million people were impacted, and ranked the 10 humanitarian crises with the lowest number of online news articles mentioning them, starting with the emergency that received the least amount of media attention at number 1. Arabic, English, French, German and Spanish language reports were part of the analysis. 6 African countries made the list, sharing a raft of travails ranging from internal displacement, hunger and malnutrition, and chronic poverty. Burundi, the 5th poorest country in the world, with its humanitarian crisis impacting 2.5 million people, topped the list of the underreported events. Just 429 media articles were published, or 0.04% of the total media analyzed. And this, despite historic elections drawing media attention to the country, but not the humanitarian crises. The country has one of the highest rates of chronic malnutrition in the world, the report said. The Central African Republic, ranked 3rd, Madagascar 5th, and Mali 8th, have appeared on the list across multiple years. Yet the people in these countries don't get sufficient media attention, the report said. Malawi comes 6th and Zambia 10th. Madagascar, which topped the list last year, has a chronic food crisis caused by successive droughts and COVID-19 disruptions, deepening poverty and pushing an estimated 1.3 million people into famine-like conditions in southern Madagascar, according to the United Nations. Mali has in recent years faced unprecedented humanitarian crises. About 4.3 million people are in need of humanitarian assistance and more than 1 million face severe food insecurity. The combined effects of armed conflict and the lasting impacts of the 2012 food crisis in the north of Mali, together with poor recent harvests, have had a severe effect on the country's people. Today, many are trying to get by without adequate access to food, shelter, protection, or basic services such as education and health care. And in Zambia, a country on the front line of the climate emergency, more than 2 million struggle to eat due to drought. Humanitarian crises can emerge from a range of events, climate change and armed conflict chiefly among them. According to analysts, increased media attention could help keep humanitarian lifelines afloat, as there is a correlation between media visibility of this crisis and donor responses and funding. According to CARE International's Humanitarian and Operations Director, the media has the power to set agendas, hold politicians accountable, and help raise crucial funds to deliver aid. And inasmuch as we have to focus on the pandemic, this must not eclipse the humanitarian crisis to the extent of letting them slip off the media radar. For Qtv News, I am Mumurumbo.
Before we end this news bulletin, let's take a quick look at our main stories. The Health Minister, while updating the National Assembly, revealed that the Gambia has registered 2 cases of the UK variant of the COVID-19. The renamed Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, in collaboration with UNICEF, has handed over food items to families in the Greater Banjul area as part of its COVID-19 response. We heard testimonies from 2 former NIA operatives about the torture carried out by the agency, including one who had a 17-year career and another involved in giving what he termed special treatment to victims. Gambia participates in collaboration with the International Budget Partnership on Thursday engaged stakeholders to review the Gambia's current budget process to improve fiscal transparency. In international news, 6 of the 10 most underreported humanitarian crises of 2020 are in Africa. We took a look as to why this is. Well, that is all we have for you in this edition of QTV News. Thanks for watching.